Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Welcome to today's daily quiz session with us, and before we begin looking into today's questions, a quick gentle reminder regarding the Google form that has been attached to the description box of this video. Now do fill up the form in case you are looking for expert professional guidance for the upcoming UPSC CSE exam with just a few weeks to go. Fill up the form and reach out to us, and let us arrange a one-on-one counseling session for you from our experts who will do all the hands holding, ensuring your smooth preparation. And now on to the questions of the day. The first question on your screen talks about military exercises between various countries. Why has the question been taken up? The reason is a release in the Hindu newspaper which says how India and UAE have partnered in progress. It is time to celebrate the friendship, the bilateral ties between the two nations, and this was said by the Honorable Indian Prime Minister when he was addressing the Indian diaspora in the UAE. It is happening in the highlight of Indian head of the state visiting the UAE, not only pushing for better economic cooperation but also talking about further improving ease of doing business. Now on to the question. The first statement here says desert cyclone is a joint military exercise between India and Qatar. The reason why the statement can be slightly confusing is because right now Indo-Qatar relations were also in the news. It was in the light of the Navy personnel from India who were stranded in Qatar. Eventually they were released, they came back, and that was also a big milestone between both the countries. However, Desert Cyclone is not a joint military initiative between India and Qatar. In fact, it is a military initiative between India and UAE. It recently took place, in fact, in Rajasthan, and the purpose was to enhance interoperability between both the countries. Besides, to share each other's best military practices. And hence, the exercise Desert Cyclone. Now, the second statement says the first ever joint exercise between the special forces of Indian Army and their Egyptian counterparts was named Exercise Cyclone 1, and this was held in 2023. Well, this is a correct statement because once again, the agenda behind Exercise Cyclone 1 was to improve interoperability between the militaries of India and Egypt. That was one. The other thing was that this exercise was specifically designed to be done in a dry or a semi-dry land. Hence, it was based out of desert. As per the Charter 7 of United Nations. So under the aegis of the UN Charter, the exercise was done deliberately in a desert or a very, very dry terrain. It was also trying to share the best practices of military procedures from one another, making second statement valid. And the third statement yet again talks about Sada Tanseek. It says this is a joint military exercise between armed forces of India and Saudi Arabia. Again, a correct statement here because Sada Tanseek was a set of combat drills that took place between the armed forces of both these countries, making the second and the third statement valid, and see your correct answer. And with this, let's quickly proceed with the second question of the day. It says the SDR, the Special Drawing Riots. Yes, you might have guessed what are we talking about, but why suddenly is this question making news? The question is making news because in the recent light of the spat between India and Maldives comes another shocking piece of news from the International Monetary Fund, who says that Maldives is at a very high risk of debt distress. Now, you might have heard about Argentina, very often associated with inability of paying back the debt taken from World Bank and the IMF. Many countries have defaulted before that. In this reference, we should also study, in fact, how many times did India have to borrow from the IMF? What do we mean by the conditions of IMF and all of that. And in that context, the question here, the SDR is an international reserve asset created by the World Bank. We are talking about both the Bretton Woods institutions, but here, the first statement is invalid because it is not the World Bank, but the International Monetary Fund, which actually maintains the SDR or the special drawing rights as an international reserve asset. Remember, it's not a currency actually. It is based on a basket of 5 currencies. And what are these 5 currencies? So, among them is Euro, it is US dollar, it is the Japanese yen, it is the pound sterling, as well as the Chinese renminbi. Do remember, initially the SDR was also referred to as paper gold. And now let's consider the second statement here. It says the latest currency to be added to the reserve currency list is the Chinese renminbi. That's also a correct statement actually, because it was back in 2016 when the Chinese renminbi was added to the bucket list of various currencies which include the SDR, and hence the second statement here is valid, which means the first is wrong and 2 only will be the right answer, and we can select B here. Coming to the third question for today. It is again a set of 2 statements, and the first statement is talking about the ISA or the International Solar Alliance. So much so about solar energy that every day almost we do have an article that's published either in the PIB or it's in the Hindu all over the news, which is in the reference to the solar energy. Indeed, because recently even India is giving major impetus to solar energy, whether it be your scheme Surya Uday or whether it be the recently announced decision of the union government to install even more solar rooftop panels across India. And in this light, once again, we have a piece of news from the PIB pertaining to the ecology, which says that International Conference on Solar Thermal Technologies is thinking about the potential of concentrated solar power integration in India's renewable energy ecosystem. So once again, we are talking in reference of importance of solar energy. We also discussed recently the PM Kusum scheme, and the question is pretty related. The question says, as the first statement, the International Solar Alliance was conceived. It was created as a joint effort by India and France to mobilize, that's to push, efforts against climate change through deployment of solar energy solutions. A correct statement. Because indeed, the International Solar Alliance was a brainchild of India in collaboration with France. Let's remember that the intention was to combat climate change, to bring down the carbon footprint and to move towards more and more utilization on solar energy. Let's remember, it was the Honorable Indian Prime Minister who long back during the India-Africa Summit had in fact mooted the idea of Solar Alliance as a group of some countries known as sunshine countries, Surya Putra countries, who lie between the Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, places which receive a lot of solar insolation, a lot of heat. And that's the reason why the countries decided to make a platform for maximum utilization of this solar insolation. So, right before the meeting of United Nations Climate, back in 2015, just before the meeting of United Nations Climate Change in 2015, the idea was mooted. It was finally put into practice, and here we have the International Solar Alliance as a treaty which has now about 120 signatories from across the world. Also, let's remember that this ISA is headquartered in India itself, in Gurugram. That's near New Delhi. So the first statement is valid. Second statement, Leh is to become India's first city to implement green hydrogen-based mobility project with zero emission. Once again, the statement is absolutely valid because talking in the context of Leh, let's remember that indeed there is a plan to create not just a hydrogen fueling station, also solar plant, as well as a set of buses who will completely run on cells, solar charged cells. So indeed, Leh will be the first destination to have a complete green hydrogen enabled mobility, that's transportation project, making second also the correct option, and C becomes the right answer here. And now to the fourth question of the day. It says, consider the following statements. The first talks about National Optical Fiber Network, or the NOFN, which was rolled out in 2011. The statement says later the same initiative was renamed as BharatNet project in 2015. So is that a correct statement? It is. Because talking about the BharatNet project, this is a huge ambition plan of the Indian government to introduce massive internet connectivity in rural India. So talking about BharatNet, let's remember as of now it is the largest rural broadband initiative. Also remember that the government had decided to provide at least 100 Mbps to about 2.5 lakh gram panchayats across rural India, with the motto of creating better rural digi connectivity. And hence the first statement is valid. Second statement, it is world's largest rural broadband connectivity program that uses optical fiber. It's true. Here again both the statements are valid, making C your correct answer. Once again, why did the question become important to us? Because it pertains with a particular release in the PIB, which says that the Union Minister Shri Giriraj Singh has launched a pilot, a massive mammoth project talking in reference to Smart Gram Panchayat. Once again, it is talking about e-solutions, internet-based IT-enabled solutions for Gram Panchayats to work successfully. This is all about creating a rural digital revolution in India. This is also in connection with the PM Wani service, which is again about creating internet-enabled telecommunications across India. And this has been spoken about in Begusarai district of Bihar, in pilot mode, which means many other panchayats will see the same initiative pretty soon. So now let's quickly analyze today's PYQ, and this is coming from 2018. It says, Momentum for Change. Climate Neutral Now is an initiative launched by which of the following? A. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC. Is it B? The UNEP Secretariat. Is it C? UNFCCC Secretariat, or is it D, the WMO, the World Meteorological Organization? Here, the correct answer is C. Indeed, it is the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which in one of its meetings had rolled out this initiative called Momentum for Change, all about creating a transition from fossil fuel-based energy to clean green energy. Once again, the initiative aimed at reducing the carbon footprint. Now remember, as India, alongside many other countries, are strongly giving a push to achieving sustainable development goals. Many countries believe that by 2047, we must go zero when it comes to our emissions, as well as they are also trying to tackle and achieve their nationally determined contributions, whether it be through natural gas-based economy, whether it be through renewable energy. So here, in this reference, let's remember that this initiative also spoke about how to further create climate neutrality as a commitment among various countries of the world, and hence C, your correct answer. Now let's quickly analyze a very interesting fact of today. And today we are talking about asteroids. Why the sudden passion for asteroids? This fact of the day has emerged out of a recent news, in fact, that is making huge acclaim all over media today. It says that today, on 14th February, there is an asteroid that is approaching the Earth. Many such news have come and gone in the past, but every time it does create some consternation among people, scientists and astronomers as to what could be the potential of the coming asteroid. So here NASA has spotted a huge, a massive size asteroid called 2024 BR4. It is cruising, it's traveling towards India, and the speed is quite heavy. It's coming at a very fast speed. And in that light, we thought of analyzing the asteroid itself. Asteroids are typically, as the image is saying, volumes here, pieces of rock. They are solid, hard pieces of rock-like material. They are chunks of rock that constantly orbit the sun, but since they are very, very small, they cannot be called planets. And hence we call them minor planets. In fact, better, we call them planetoids. Remember that we have millions of asteroids although, and the size can be extremely varied from very, very large ones like the one that's approaching us right now and to ones that are pretty small also. Let's differentiate first between asteroid and a meteoroid. A meteoroid, unlike an asteroid, is a very small particle or a chippling of a comet or an asteroid that has been chipped away. It has been separated from its parent body accidentally, and hence it is spotted here and there. That's different. But asteroid has a much bigger mass. It is a more, you can say, profound, heavy, and a much more unique substance. Now, asteroid belt is that area which actually contains millions of asteroids together. And this belt lies somewhere between Jupiter and Mars. It has about 750,000 identified asteroids. In fact, many more than that. Talking about asteroids, generally, scientists classify them into three different genres, three different groups, based on what is it made up of, its ingredient composition. So here we have the C, S and M type asteroids. C are the chondrite asteroids or chondrite asteroids. They are made up of clay and silicate material, silicate hard rock material. The next is the stony silicate material plus nickel and iron. When I say nickel and iron, I'm sure you are reminded of the word knife. Because often when we talk about the earth interior, when we divide the interior of the earth into different parts, we always talk about the sial, the saima, and we talk about the knife. So here again, the composition is nickel and iron for stony asteroids. The third genre is metallic asteroid, once again comprising nickel and iron into it. So very well-known asteroids are often named as Ceres, Pallas, Vesta. Generally, these are the largest ones that people talk about, although there are many, many more, identified and unidentified, of course. And although they are very, very smaller than our planets, for example, Ceres, one of the largest known asteroids, has only 1% of total lunar mass. So we can imagine how small it is as compared to other celestial bodies, but they are capable, definitely, of bringing about huge changes in the orbits of Mars and the Earth, given the sheer velocity of the movement, given the sheer displacement that they create while they travel. And on that note, I would take your leave for the day. I hope you enjoyed this session and see you soon with many such exciting sessions in future. Thank you.